Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Joes of all ages, welcome to the main event of the evening.
It's Talking Joe with Chief and Steve.
Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe!
Hey, it's the Chief Dog and his new Greek friend, Stefanos. How are you, my friend?
Stefano Zumber. Hey, yes, this is S-Job. Quick turnaround time, S-Job, because what? Chief, did I just talk to you like yesterday?
Shh, that's behind the curtains. Yes, you did, or the day before, or whenever. It probably was yesterday for your time, but this is going out a week later. Let's maintain the pretense. But actually, no, you get extra editing time. It's luxury land for the S-Jubs.
Jeez, don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Maybe I'll put in a whole bunch of, like, ping-pongs and boing, sound effects and shit. Oh, that's such a tedious exploit, I swear. And it's so, like... I don't know. Is it necessary? I don't know. It doesn't tickle my funny bones. Does it tickle yours? Maybe.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's much more fun to make them live, right?
Oh, yeah, for reals.
Chief Doggy Dog, this is a very unfortunately redundant question, but how the hell are you, dude?
I'm a bit more upbeat. I feel I listened back to last week's episode. I was a bit flat, I wasn't under the weather or anything. I don't know if it was the stress of work situations or trying to move house and having no one putting offers in our house and we can't find anything. But I did feel I was a little bit non-chief-like. But I do actually feel a bit more spring in my step today, which is nice.
Well, listen, it was a good contrast, if nothing else. Like, Chief, I listened back as well, and you definitely were the straight man to my zaniness. So it was good. It was good. It was like, I've got nothing to say about these issues. Well, I've got a lot to say about these issues. So there. Yeah.
Yes, I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been buying more action figures, even though it's only been 1 day in real time between it. I've still managed to purchase more figures. So, now this is a question I wanted to ask you. I am absolutely an action figure amateur. I'm straight in at the ground floor level. Now, I was speaking to Ben yesterday about Black Series because he's got all these 6 bounty hunters. And I was struggling to find Dengar. Now a quick shout out to friend of the show, my old co-host on Three Stooges Wrestling, Faceman Dave. He tipped me up to this website called Phillips Toys in the UK, and he found a Dengar for me for 25 quid. And Dengar, I've been finding him on eBay for like 50 plus. So that was nice. I ordered that yesterday, Dengar. I've now got the IG-88, the Bosk. I bought a Forlom, so now I just need the Boba Fett and a Zuckuss, which will be nice. And I went down a rabbit hole of looking at YouTube videos of action figure reviews and weekly updates of news, and I started hearing all these other terms.
You got it bad, Chief. You got it.
I started hearing
so
all these other brands I'd never heard of. So I'm like, okay, Hasbro I've heard of, Mattel I've heard of, Kenner obviously back in the day I've heard of, but then people saying Marfex and SH Figure Arts and Amazing Yamaguchi and NECA, and I was like, whoa, all these crazy kind of premium higher level brands, and I went down that rabbit hole, and now I want all those, but they are well expensive
and don't mesh perfectly well with your established run of Black Series. Like the mass release Hasbro stuff, be it Marvel Legends, be it Black Series Star Wars, be it G.I. Joe Classified, is of a par. All that stuff is of a similar kind of quality and construction and scaling. The second you start messing with that, I don't know, it fires up my OCD big time.
Okay. Well, some of I'm looking at the Deathlock Marvel Legends and the Doom Marvel Legends in the cabinet next to some of the Star Wars ones, and they skew a little bit bigger, but I don't mind it in those particular figures because Doctor Doom is in his armor, Deathlock is like a cyborg kind of pumped, jacked up dude, so I don't mind them skewing a little bit larger, but it's when I guess you've got a Captain America next to a Spider-Man and the heights are way off, then that's not ideal. But it depends what you're doing. If you're doing, posing and toy photography and your clever use of angles, the height won't matter too much, I guess. But one thing I did want to point out, ones that I'm on the lookout for, just so that if any of the listeners out there, UK-based, can find any good ones, I'm looking for the Storm Street Fighter figures at a reasonable rate. I'm looking for the, I think it's a Figma Samus Aran Metroid figure. And I'm looking for a Link from Zelda. I don't know who makes that, actually. Or the good one.
I'm sure a bunch of different, like Reveltech, I'm sure there's a Link.
Yeah.
Nintendo probably make their own, but they're probably shite.
Yes, yep. And there's a Kratos, a NECA Kratos I'm looking for from God of War. Not that I'm a God of War fan, I just really like the figure. So I'm the kind of guy who will just buy stuff based on a cosmetic appearance. So if something looks cool, even if I know nothing about it, I'm probably going to buy it. There you go. But I'll tell you one thing I did want to mention.
Yeah.
I say one thing, I've mentioned quite a lot. The last thing I want to mention on action figures is I bought the Black Series Hoth Trooper. Now, Black Series, I'm coming to realise the Legends and the Marvel Legends and the Classified, even though they're like 20 quid, which to me seems expensive, that's kind of like the budget end of the range almost in the six-figure line. And some of them are fantastic. Well, the majority of them are actually fantastic, especially this Hoth Trooper. Rebel Hoth Trooper comes with loads of accessories. Loads of deco, is brilliant, and he has a Zartan face in his backpack. So comes with a regular face. You can pop his cap off, pop the face off, open up the backpack. It's got the little clasp to open. There's the bearded Zartan face. Pop it back on, and you've got two figures. You can army build those to your heart's content.
And the middle mode is, of course, the guy from The Last Starfighter with no face.
yeah. No.
Chief, I'll say this much about action figure collecting relative to other pursuits, other hobby pursuits, and I'm going to get into a bit of hot water about it, but I think I can take ownership of this smugness.
Yeah.
You know, whether you were a film collector or comic book collector or music collector, history has shown that all your pursuits are now ephemeral. Like, all of that stuff. Okay, I know holding the actual book is always going to be preferable to reading it on a tablet. But, like, there is no digital substitute for the plastic.
No.
So...
Can't do it. You just can't do it.
I fully appreciate why you want to go down this rabbit hole, man. You've now got a Hoth or an Echo-based layer to have that tangible link to... I'd just as soon kiss a Wookiee. Or would it help if I got out and pushed? Or indeed, when she kisses her brother. Oh, you've got that. You've got that immortalized in plastic. Amen.
Yeah. I'm going to cut back to one thing you did mention. I made a decision last night to do a drastic purge of a large percentage of my comics. I was reading Daredevil Born Again on my tablet through... what was it? I've got it on Comixology, I think I got it on, or something. Anyway, but it's got the guided view where it kind of, you swipe and it goes panel to panel. Very nice. Dynamic, and it's made me realise that I think I prefer digital reading of comics now. So, only in the panel to panel guided view. If it's just full page, then I'm probably going to stick with physical. So I've got loads of trades and books, and if they are stuff I can get digital, I'm going to offload them all and switch to digital.
Okay. I'm such a comic noob, so please humour me. But
yes.
In a digital reproduction of something like Born Again,
yes,
do they have the colour? Is it digitally recolored? And if so, is it washed out to replicate, the newspaper print of the original pages?
Well,
or is it like really vibrant and like are the colours dialed up to 11? Because they actually did a 1-to-1 match.
Yeah, sometimes it does go the negative end of the spectrum there in terms of, yes, the colours recoloured, but to a detriment to the work in terms of it's nothing close to the original material, too bright, too vibrant, and to a new reader to that material, it might be fine, but if you've read the original source material, and I've got all those Daredevil issues, and it's got that crazy crappy newsprint paper, and the colours have just washed out and they're pastely, and you can almost see through the page, and there's something to be said for that. The smell, definitely, I love the smell of those old comic books, but in some instances the recolouring is an improvement, and in some cases it's not. So it is a little bit hit and miss. So,
Chief, I've kind of tracked down maybe one of the problems with this G.I. Joe reread, and that's classic Joe always had the association of like being so cover to cover red that the covers were falling off.
Yep.
And that tactile sensation and the old style of, comic book production and printing. Like, S.L. Gallant's pages are gorgeous. They're incredible. But they don't scream Joe to me, not by virtue of a failing of the artist, because we all know he nails the characters, the looks, the weapons, the vehicles. He's got it in the bag. But just because G.I. Joe was very much a thing of its time. And reading the old books, like Herb Trimpe's work, Vosberg, Wiggum, like all those guys, just, you can't get away from the association that the newspaper print and the washed out colors have. Just the authenticity of it. That feels like G.I. Joe to me. It's tricky, man. Everything else is like a pretender or a faker,
Yeah, I think probably the 10-year or however long it was between the gap between Real American Hero stopping and restarting didn't help. People kind of lost touch and forgot what the book was all about, even from
comic books changed so radically in those 10 years. Anyway, probably for the better, but I guess in my mind, and hopefully a couple other people listening to this, there ain't no school like the old school.
That's it. Yeah.
We need to pick up our blood sugar levels, Chief. We need a
diggity.
kick.
It's time for Snack Police. Potato chips, crisps, biscuits and candy, washing them down with a whiskey or a brandy, chewy sweets, cookies, built around jerky, snacks running fair because we got them at our mercy. We're snackers, attackers, bad mother truckers, and we're eating all the crackers, munchers, crunchers, knockout snacks like we're heavyweight punchers. The snack police are in his house. So I think I went first last week. What you got for me this week?
I'm pretty sure I've had this before, so I have cheated, but I can't
remember.
remember.
Calling the Chief out on that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, indeed. But Chief, it's called Choquito. It's by Nestle. I think it's an Aussie thing. It's certainly not available in South Africa, and I'm pretty sure there's probably a local analog to it, and I'm pretty sure there's probably one in the UK as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the picture you sent me, but I'm not familiar with the name at all.
Right, okay, so
I'm just going to read the bottom bit. Chewy caramel fudge, crunchy balls, and loads of chocola. I hadn't scrolled the picture all the way. Chocolate. Chocola. What a dick.
Well, thanks for that, Chief. I was going to attempt it myself, but you obliged me. And I peel the wrapper of this. It's a beautiful wrapper. Like it's like yellowish gold lettering on a black wrapper. That's quite classy for your bottom of the range kind of Nestle chocolate bar. Anyway,
I'm trying to think what the approximation would be for the UK here.
It's got a really dimply outer appearance because it's like got like Rice Krispies.
I'm going to say this might be a... what the bastard is that bar called? I don't know. Carry on while I think.
It's like nothing I've had back home. It's definitely its own thing. Yeah. What is it? Chewy... oh, God, I've torn the label.
Toffee crisp. Might be a toffee crisp.
Chewy caramel fudge? Okay, I'm getting the caramel. Yeah, it's nice. Crunchy balls. So it's like Cocoa Puffs.
Okay.
That's what they mean by chewy, crunchy balls.
Cocoa Puffs, yeah. I'm looking at
my chocolate balls.
I'm looking at toffee crisps. If you Google toffee crisp, that's a Nestle bar in the UK, but that's more like Rice Krispies. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Where you are.
Yeah. In Oz, Rice Krispies are, I think they're called Rice Bubbles.
Right, okay.
Weirdos. What you got, Chief?
So, you thought I had something. I'm going to save that for next week. But I've actually got something else. I sent you a picture saying I've got these, and they look quite tasty. But I've actually got this because I just went shopping prior to the show to get washing up liquid, and I saw these on the shelf, £1.25 reduced to 84p. And it is Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. So they've got, as every supermarket does, they've got the normal stuff on their own brand line. Then they've got their value brand, which is the kind of no frills. And then they have their upper premium brand. And this is the Sainsbury's, the Taste the Difference line. And it is 4 chewy granola slices. Let's open up the bag. They're a good size. Don't have my ruler to hand, but I'm going to guess that's about 3 inches square. Well, no, I don't know why I'm saying inches. What's that, about 7 centimetres? Let's have a go.
Whatever you say, Chief.
Okay. That's good. It's got oats. I can see a cranberry there. I can see a pumpkin seed. There's a raisin.
Value.
Yeah. Problem I've got now is, how do I avoid eating all 4?
All that for 84p.
Big news in the Talking Joe studio. Big news. Chief has managed to have 2 coffees in the loft today, 0 spills.
And the crowd goes bananas.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, so we're all looking good. Everything's coming up, Chief.
Now it's time to talk about these damn comic books.
Let's do it. It's comic talk, baby. Chief and Steve discussing like crazy. Larry Harmer riding these bad boys, making sense of the wackiest toys. Listen as we talk about story arcs, making noise louder than Junkyard Box, talking about character motivations and all the various G.I. Joe fun locations.
Chief, I'm going to endeavour to only say positive things in this podcast.
Alright, so this is down to Chief now then. We are covering the Cobra World Order prelude and issue 219. Covers, I've got is this a Paul Pope cover? I'm not actually sure. Because it doesn't tell me on the inside who the cover artist is. And on my inside cover, I've just got the Cobra logo with the Cobra World Order and then a bit of blurb.
So, what is the cover that you have? Describe it for me, Chief.
I've got Snake Eyes outside is it a crashed... It doesn't look like a hiss. What is it? I don't know. Oh, it is a hiss.
It is a hiss, but a later variation. I think that's
788.
called the Hiss 5.
Okay.
Yeah, modern hiss. It actually kind of raises itself up. It's got like a spring-loaded feature to kind of make the cockpit rise above the treads.
Okay.
Pretty far-out design.
Yeah. So that is Paul Pope on cover, and he's kind of he was a bit of an indie artist, did a few books, did a Batman 100 and some other stuff, but he's an indie style, very stylized art. But I like that cover.
Even though it's broken down, I'd say he nailed the new hiss. It's got a very distinctive kind of front shape. Almost looks like a Batmobile tank.
Yeah.
That front sort of, what would you call it? Mandible almost.
Yeah.
Very angular, nice. I hope he had the toy to hand. Wouldn't that be nice? And it's got a turret that sort of mounts 2 distinct weapons. The one is a chain gun with an ammo feed coming off of it, as he's depicted. And the other, I think, would have been a spring-fired missile launcher. But he's tastefully kind of downsized that. The treads are also very nicely done. On the toy, in the initial release, the treads were actually, like, practical. They had a rubber strap, and you could kind of roll it along the tiles. Didn't work too well on all surfaces, but a nice touch. I do appreciate when a tank actually has practical-looking tank treads that aren't motorized, so you can actually still push it around a bit. I like all these covers, Chief. I'm not going to lie. I have them all digi in front of me, and they're all pretty cool.
That's the one on my book. And then the only other one I'm aware of is it the first part of a 3-part Phil Jimenez interconnected cover?
Yes, that is damn cool. It looks like movie posters.
Yes.
And it's fully coloured. The one on this issue has Scarlet facing off against Serpentor, but a whole bunch of other kind of motifs and a sort of montage behind that. There's a very cool detail in the bottom right where a Hydro Viper is like choking out Deep Six while Torpedo and a bunch of other divers are descending on to assist.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this time for a Name the Joe segment, or maybe not? Oof. I don't know.
Well, if you've got the book to hand, I can actually name all of these guys, so, there's no real challenge in it, I'm afraid, Chief.
Okay,
But
okay,
the cool
all right.
thing about the other covers is they all have a red and black motif to them. Like, there's a nice thread of red and black, and those are undeniably, like, stepping outside of the Cobra Blue, those were, like, the early Cobra palette. Unfortunately, Destro then stole those colors kind of greedily. But Cobra used a lot of black and red back in the day. It's nice to see a return to form.
Yeah, but we see a lot of guys on here. I'm seeing Slice and Dice on this cover. Serpentor's back. The Crimson Twins. Xandar's even there. Although I've only got the big interconnected cover itself, the image of it. So I don't know where one cover ends and the next one begins.
Right. Well.
So I've got Recondo jumping into the fray. Is he on the next one?
Yes, he's on the next one, or yeah. It would be the sort of would it be the one to the left of this? Anyway, it's the same making great radio, but I've just noticed that there's a Cobra bug in the underwater sequence. I love me an underwater sequence, and if you use all the toys, you are my best friend. Well done, cover artist.
That's Phil Jimenez on those ones, and then looking at the next issue 219, I've got the cover by Francesco Francavilla. And this is the Joe team on the front with the flag behind them.
Pretty cool cover.
Yeah. Kind of understated, nice colour palette.
His weapon uses seem very, like, old school. I mean, is that a Bren machine gun that Duke has? Sort of top-loading gun. And then Stalker's got a grease gun? The Sten. The Sten machine.
Yeah,
Sten. Very good. You gonna back me up on that, Chief?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Gun porn. But anyways, like, it's interesting. It looks like Joe's out of time.
Yeah, and then there's also in the inset, I've actually got the Snake Eyes carded toy card art cover.
And they use the actual Hector Garrido card art for that. Like in previous, we've seen this been done on previous covers, but they've used original art. And not to be a slight on the artists producing original work, but like, it's a case of ain't broke, don't fix it. The original card art is iconic, it is incredible, it is the best. So,
yes, agree.
If you're going to give me a toy card cover, reproduce the toy. Just don't change a thing.
Yep. All right, let's dig into the insides, but before we look at the insides, we need Last Time on A Real American Hero. Quartered in top-secret armoured underground bunkers deep beneath a secret base in the Utah desert is America's elite counter-terrorist strike force, codenamed G.I. Joe. The most fearsome rapid deployment team of all stands ready to fight anywhere, anytime, anyway. Clearly that is not a Last Time on Real American Hero. And this issue, as we'll find out, is very much a what has happened in the IDW run so far recap.
Yep, very much the comic book equivalent of a clip show, kind of. Or not really. I mean, we're not seeing any kind of reproduced material, but there isn't really much going on. No real events. It's a kind of what they call an as you know scene, where it's really just for the audience's benefit. This serves as a jumping on point.
Yeah.
You've got, what's her name, Wendy Ling Torres inserted as she's an analog for us, the reader. And Duke is our tour guide, bringing us up to speed on everything that's happened so far.
Yeah. And the through line is she's there with a Fred series, or a Crimson Guard Fred series, and the Joes find out or know that he's Fred, and then they kind of string him along, and then they implant some information into Fred. They give it to Fred to see what he's going to do with it. That's the kind of the running theme, which feels a little bit flimsy or very unsecure, if nothing else.
Sure, and just spinning out from that, Chief, I mean, isn't it a bit of a stretch to expect us to believe that Joes wouldn't recognize a Fred series Crimson Guardsman outright? Like, before he even boarded the plane.
Correct, yes. They would know that if So's top secret, this base, which we've just been told, then if Wendy Ling Torres is coming, they've done background checks on her, but if she says, I'm bringing my aide, Fred, with me, then they're going to
He's
do
even
background.
called Fred.
They're going to do background checks on him as well, and they're going to know well ahead of time. But that doesn't. And I was thinking that doesn't make it such a good, such an interesting story. But it does. Maybe it does that they're ahead of time. Oh look, this is a Fred coming. Let's tell him what we want to tell him and not what we don't.
I'd say you were right about that, except they make the realization when he actually arrives at the base, when they actually lay eyes on him physically, in person. So Joe really is scrambling to mop up a mess that could have very easily gotten out of hand. You've let the enemy into your secret base.
I have got to say one thing front and centre here. Launch ramp.
Once again, man, it's mystifying. Does the jet just plop off that ramp and it's airborne? That's not how a jet works. But anyways, I said I'd be glowing with positivity, and SL Galant is back and great as ever. That Phantom X19 looks incredible.
And I think we've had a little bit of a flip reverse here as well, whereas, last week I was the flat straight man, you were the one dishing out all the goods. Here, I
still gave it a 5 out of 10.
We still went 5 out of 10. I didn't actually mind these two issues. I thought this was almost a return to form. I don't know if that's just because, and this is no disrespect to the previous artists who did the last 3 fill-in issues, but like you said, having Gallant back on art brings me a bit more joy to the book.
Well, he seemed to be having a good time too. Perhaps to the detriment of some of the characters acting like themselves. There's a moment, maybe you can guess it, where I feel like Duke is not Duke.
Where he does the face.
He does the face. Yeah. He suddenly snaps into this extremely broad grin with wide open eyes. And he says, "Just kidding, ma'am. A bad example of humor, I'm afraid." Like, what? That's not the Duke I know.
No.
Like, Duke is an absolute hard case. Anyway.
Yeah. But I tell you, one bit's, I think the 3 issues off have almost reinvigorated him. Not that he was flagging, but again, his attention to detail and the number of panels he's putting in there, just, even he's got the mauler there and the vamp is top notch. And I love the bit where they're running down the chaplain's assistant school motor pool, and the second panel down, you see a vamp with Clutch, Steeler and Covergirl, and she's sitting on the sides having a cup of tea or coffee, and they're changing the engine block. Just that panel, I just love the composition. It's so simple, but just
having a tea or coffee and not a cigarette.
Yeah, but just there's so much going on in that panel. It's just I don't know. It's a simple one, but really, really effective.
And was he churning out 2 pages a day at this stage? I mean, when we spoke to the man, he led us to believe that. Like, it's incredible that he puts in that much work. But what did he call it? Artistic masturbation?
That's it, yeah.
You notice that the Joes don't even know the reason why Crimson Guardsmen have the same faces.
Yeah.
Like, that's still a mystery even to G.I. Joe intel. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. But I was thinking here, obviously, the Joes had kind of planned to give some information to Miss Torres, but they're talking about Arashikage clans, and they're mentioning Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, as if she would have clue number 1 who Storm Shadow was or what an Arashikage was.
Once again, this is clearly an issue that is directed at us or readers who have dropped out for a while. I mean, Death of Snake Eyes into this Cobra World Order new title. I mean, I hate talking about comic book sales and marketing ploys, but it does reek of an attempt to draw readers back into the fold. Doesn't it, Chief?
It does, yeah, most definitely.
Big time. So this is definitely, I say again, just a kind of a, as you know, scene or story where we're kind of just situating everyone back into the world of G.I. Joe and the characters and the major factions.
Yeah.
About the Arashikage, I have to give 2 shout-outs. Mark van Leeuwen and Michael Woodworth really saved our bacon, dude. You know when I spoke in last episode about that scene between Zartan and Tommy about the blade that had some significance in an earlier encounter on top of a
yes.
Manhattan building.
Yes.
Turns out that scene played out in the Storm Shadow series of comic books.
Ah, yeah.
by Larry.
I've just seen that post on the Facebook group. Yes.
So that incorporates a story from a different title altogether. I think that's kind of problematic. I mean, I know it's Larry Hama writing that, and we can't expect the man to be filing his own kind of backstory, like this happened in that book and this happened in the other book. But like, for those of us who are just reading one title, a reference like that falls completely flat, as it did for both of us. I mean, Chief, you've read the Storm Shadow books.
I've got them. Yeah, they're hard bound into my the first custom bound of my IDW stuff. And
well, then what's your excuse, man?
I'm actually going to flick forward to the letters page in issue 219, where someone writes in saying, I really enjoyed the Arashikage storylines. I want to see more of Pale Peony before she died. I was interested in a complex of Arashikage destiny, as Storm Shadow mentioned. Who is the ninja that Storm Shadow is mentoring in 157? And is it the same man with the Arashikage tattoo in Trieste that helped Pale Peony and Jinx in 196 to 198? He says, will IDW reprint the Storm Shadow series? And Larry replies, the mysterious ninja in Trieste will figure in future storylines, because this guy's just reminded him about him, I guess. But he's not the same man from 157. I don't know what plans there are for reprinting Storm Shadow books. I have tried to make their continuity relevant to the existing storyline.
Right. Well,
so
yeah.
there you go.
Demon Granny, Pale Peony, this encounter with Zartan on top of the building.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Oh, Chief, you noticed that when we cut to the dojo in San Francisco, what are all the Joes doing? Cleaning the damn floor. That floor, those mats, that dojo must be the cleanest place. Every time we see Budo, he's cleaning. Every time we see the rest of the team.
Who's the guy in the middle with the big round cleaner?
Well, possibly Long Range with the moustache.
Okay.
Muskrat, bless. He's always wearing his boonie hat.
Yes.
And I assume the man on the step ladder must then be Torpedo.
And is that Alpine on the left?
The one and only.
Yep.
Handling that broom like he handles his pickaxe.
Like a champ.
What a guy. Born to mop.
Also interesting when Duke is giving this recap on Cobra, and he's almost giving Cobra Commander's, origin story. Well, he does give his origin story, really.
Oh, big time.
And then when you see Cobra Commander rally through the streets with these HISS tanks, it's only goddamn Dr. Mindbender next to him again. We mentioned last episode that Mindbender was his second in command and the only member of the hierarchy left. But at this time, when Cobra was up through the ranks, was Mindbender around, and would also not maybe Destro have been there, or Baroness, or someone else? Storm Shadow? Don't know.
Yeah, pal, you're absolutely right. In those early days of Springfield, where I think this kind of rally would be taking place with all the HISS tanks, yeah, Mindbender wasn't in the picture. I don't think he had settled on his codename just yet. Dr. Brainwave.
Yeah.
It probably would have been either Dr. Venom or Destro, or both. The sort of the early leadership of Cobra, maybe with Major Blood scheming away in the corner there.
Yeah. It also seems strange that on the next, I think it's the next page or one after, Mainframe's discussing the Cobra troops, and he kind of mentions worms, secto vipers, and sea slugs, but that those seem to, there's a lot more speciality troopers and vehicles that those drive than that. So I don't know why those were singled out.
Man, who knows? Yeah, no, it's
just interesting.
It's a mystery. But then again, we could literally basically do a reprint of an order of battle if Mainframe was to list all the Cobra specialists and hardware. Yeah, I think it's it's a healthy overview of kind of specialist Vipers. Bit of a head scratcher in Frag Viper. Maybe Gallant just had an affinity for that particular design, or probably it might have come from Hama, but there are less obscure Vipers and there are more obscure Vipers. I'd say Frag Viper's kind of on the fringes.
I think there's a range Viper on that interconnected Phil Jimenez cover.
You're absolutely right, Chief. What a nice touch. He's there with a crystal ball in the one corner.
Yeah. And Crystal Ball shows up, and not necessarily in this issue, in the next one, but Xandar does show up in this issue, strangely, after us talking about him last week.
Hey, was that in the waters or what, Chief?
He is in every issue.
Speak his name and he shall reveal himself to you. It's fascinating. Yeah, Xandar, he's back, baby.
Yeah.
Anything else of note to mention about this?
I don't think so. They've supplanted this in Fred's head that they've got this killer super weapon that can target anyone at any time.
What, don't they? I mean, now they need a kind of a presidential order to fire it up, but like they do basically have this laser death weapon from the sky.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that extreme ramp that the C-130 goes up to fly off?
It's pretty steep.
Wow. Once again, whatever technology they used to spit out the X-19, they must be using on that big old bird because holy crap.
And that is a wide, I'm sure the wings are not going to fit through that door, but anyway.
Once again, like, it would be a real chore to get an artist to actually somehow effectively chronicle how this all works, but
yes.
Maybe you just got to leave it to our imaginations.
This issue in the print I've got actually has a interview with Larry and Shannon in the back.
Yeah, I got that myself. Didn't bother to read it, I'm afraid.
No.
I feel like we've got a great dose of Shannon already. We just need to get the main man, Mr. Harmer, on the show.
That's it.
Did you notice on the letters page there's a guy called Chief?
No, I didn't. Where's that?
No relation, of course.
There's only one.
Special Agent Johnson. Special Agent Johnson.
No relation.
No relation.
Love that scene.
Oh,
homework.
Sorry, it's back.
It's back. Homework for the Chief.
Oh, Chief, Larry has totally been reading his own file cards. Because for 2 issues in a row, we've had reference to the fact that Zartan is increasingly losing touch with his own personality.
Right. Yes.
And that is
correct.
something that I remember in the Steve Talks Toys, I'm probably the only one who remembers it, I made light of the fact that it's a detail on the file card that really did not factor into Zartan's portrayal.
Yes,
like
no,
he
I
always
remember that.
seemed like a very ultra-competent, like, subordinate. Like a guy who could clearly handle a lot more responsibility than he was given. Like he could be leading troops in the field. He's that kind of together and with it. He's not just kind of running the dreadnoughts and that's the extent of it. Like he is a capable military mind. But there is a problem with this guy's, psyche. And we never got that. We only got the competent military leader until now. Now he's kind of struggling with the fact that he's imprinted himself into the Blind Master, and that is a warring persona. And now Duke makes mention of it as well. It's fascinating to me that, or is it Psych Art? Yeah, I think Psych Art, well, it would make sense that Psych Art would give a psychological profile, but
yeah,
it's fascinating to me that these details are coming out now, and I think it's because Larry's reading his own stuff again. There's another example of that'll come later, but we can continue on to 219 if you want to.
Moving on to 219, this is the start proper of the storyline. I guess the other one labelled as a prelude, not really at all, I don't think. It was just a standalone jumping on point rather than a prelude. But anyway, we're into the main storyline here. We don't get much out of it in terms of what is Cobra going to do to form this new world order, but I actually didn't mind this issue too much. I thought it was okay.
Hey, Chief's upbeat. That means Steve's going to drop the ball. Oh, brother, we open with bloody revanche. And we've seen this play out before. But I want to put on a positive spin. Hey.
Okay.
It's nice to see Hawk in the field again, kicking ass and taking names. I mean,
these action scenes are very well depicted.
Yeah, true. Though, what do you think? What goes through your head as this master tactician, like Commander-in-Chief of the Ultra Hush Hush G.I. Joe Task Force, when you stroll brazenly into Revanche Robotics? Hey?
Yeah, and that
Surely
echoes, that kind of backs up, I thought, when the other guy says, slam it, Hawk, and he says, this clearly calls for, and I thought the next panel was going to say, back up, but he actually says defenestration, which is I don't think that's a direct opposite of backup, but he clearly did not need backup because he's just going to kick her through a window.
Hey, what you talking about, Chief? Just another Larry Homerism. Defenestration. Oh my word, Chief! I was the 8-year-old kid sitting with a dictionary alongside my G.I. Joe comic book. Like, this man taught me so many words. I think I speak or try to speak highfalutin because of Larry. Because he inserted this stuff into my toy adventure.
Yes. Now, there was a character in a DC book called Hitman, which was written by Garth Ennis, penciled by John McCrea, and there was a character in it called the Defenestrator who used to carry round a window with him so that he could put people through it.
That is so funny. Oh,
now, I don't know which came
so
first.
So pretentious.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But fortunately, defenestration or fenestration is something that I didn't so much need a dictionary for because its origin is in Dutch. Venster is a window. And of course, Afrikaans imported that. And from a young age, I was being instructed in Afrikaans. And so, yeah, just like Volker Kuckuckland, that's something that I managed to pick up on as a lighty. That's a child. Yeah. In South African lingo. We're already at colloquialisms.
Stepping away from Hawk, who clearly, that's the other thing, he clearly would have been expecting some kind of physical confrontation, so it seems strange that there wasn't backup. There could have been 100 of these Revanche cybernetic creature things in there, so he was playing it a little bit loose and carefree. But anyway, back to or into the New Jersey Pine Barrens, and we get the return of some old characters that we haven't seen for a long time, and it's kind of nice to see these guys.
Is it, Chief?
Oh, or is not it for you.
Total tokenism. Hey,
I liked it.
You liked it just because, well, Shannon is once again on odd chores, and he's doing a fantastic job. Even reproducing cesspools, very hard to find oxygen device or canister or rebreather on the front of his helmet. Yeah, that was a separate piece. Great job on that one, Hasbro. I'll never complete my cesspool action figure now. Yeah. So all these characters are lovingly reproduced, and they all get a little bit of page time and a little bit of dialogue. But just like having Copperhead and Scrap Iron tag along with Firefly,
yes,
I feel like it's really just fan servicey. I know I'm being an absolute spoiled brat. I should be happy to see all the down and outs, all the underutilized characters meeting up like this. But when people request from Larry, they're like, "Oh, Big Bo is my favorite character. Can we see him in a comic book?" What they're really asking is, find a Big Bo story to tell.
Yeah.
Not just put him on the page like a name drop and a little bit of page time. Like, that's what I mean by tokenism. It's like, there, he's made an appearance. Now all the Big Bo fanboys can be happy.
Yeah, and Larry Hama even pokes fun at that himself in the script. He says, it's not like either of us have been overwhelmed with work lately.
Yeah, true. Oh, I think I've just noticed a little bit of an interesting art flub. Now, Big Bo's view slit is really just a slit. But Shannon's depicted it when Slice has a knife to Big Bo's neck. It looks kind of Boba Fettish. It's got that T. Is the assumption then that it's got a similar eye slit on the other side?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well,
it'd be an interesting design for a helmet.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
not accurate to the toy, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Nice close-up of Cesspool on the next page with his scarred face. Looks quite cool. And these guys are all clubbing together because they've got wind. They've got the sniff that Cobra Commander's up to something, and they want in. They want to reap the financial benefits of this. I'll tell you what is nice, when we go to Mexico City, it's nice to see kind of just ordinary law enforcement, or not ordinary, but just unnamed troops actually being able to throw down and not needing to be rescued all the time, because they bust in on this factory warehouse place and they've got these armor piercing rounds, and they managed to take out a load of blue ninjas. rather than seeing guys that just need to be bailed out by the Joe team all the time, these local guys are, holding their own and able to throw down. No pun intended.
Though it's Hawk leading the charge, isn't it?
It is Hawk leading the charge. Yeah. Maybe it's the command that does all the heavy lifting then.
Yeah, man. But are you happy with these kind of like throwaway scenes of like revenge facilities being raided again?
Yeah, I thought we were over that, but in the same way that the big eyeball under the pit had been buried, never to be seen again. I thought that I'm not saying that our Revanche is out of the picture for good, because they were still kind of in the storyline, but I didn't think they would necessarily play as big a part across this storyline. Maybe they won't, I don't know, because I can't remember reading these, or these are maybe new to me, but I don't really mind these odd pages of Revanche stuff, to be honest.
Well, hey, at least you get one cool setup and payoff in the scripting.
Yeah.
When the leader sort of taps himself on the chest and says, "Armor plate," and Hawk says, "Armor piercing." Blam! Excellent.
Yes. Sean, Snake Eyes Mark II, whatever we call him, he's got some ninja stuff to do.
Yeah, Scarlet puts a very fine point on what is exactly racing around in all our heads. She's like, for all intents and purposes, you are Snake Eyes. You've mastered everything the army had to teach the original. You've acquired all the qualifications, finished all the same courses, attended the same schools. Storm Shadow even had the foresight to spirit you away to Japan for a series of masterclasses in the Arashikage occult martial arts.
Too much.
So once again, it's like definitely for our benefit. It's like, yes, he knows everything that Snake Eyes knows. He's mastered everything that Snake Eyes has mastered.
Yes. And I wonder, we'll find out as we read these issues. You've read these before though, have you? How far have you read up to, number-wise?
This is very close to my jump-off point. Wow, we're almost in uncharted territory.
I'm wondering if there'll come a point where they will stop even using the name Sean and he'll just be name referenced as Snake Eyes. So if you stumbled onto this book, having read the originals and then missed out that death of, didn't know of it, came onto the book, you would be absolutely none the wiser that this wasn't the original Snake Eyes. I wonder if that's where they're going.
Yes, but you'd catch a very narrow window before we have the introduction of a very controversial character.
Okay.
Female character.
I assume you're referring to Dawn.
Okay,
which I know almost nothing about.
Yep, Mars Morales this shit.
Okay,
Chief, have you ever seen a elevator? And I assume you've been in a few elevators in your day.
Yeah, I've not die-harded my way out of it, but...
Have you ever even seen a hatch above your head?
Negative.
Huh. I mean, I assume you'd have to remove some of the paneling from the elevator to get at the hatch, assuming there is one. But I don't know, man. I'm skeptical. Like, all of the elevators typically have lighting above their heads.
Correct.
So, how do you get past the lighting and the translucent plastic? I don't know. But, hey, Hollywood, right? Hollywood tells us that you can always climb into the ceiling of any elevator and ride it.
Yep.
Die Hard style.
So Snake Eyes is off there performing his last ritual or ceremony or whatever he's got to do to now be Snake Eyes in everything but nothing but DNA, I guess. And then over in the Silent Castle, we see the big CC enjoying... He has got a massive pool, hasn't he? A massive jacuzzi.
I've always wondered about the size of the Silent Castle. In 21, it seemed quite... It seemed like a fort, like a fortification, like quite tight, like almost claustrophobic. But these interior sequences make it look like a palace.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Like the scaling of it has increased somewhat.
Maybe that's partly due to the Tardis that comes out the floor.
What? Well, they do say it's bigger on the inside.
That's it.
Oh my word, it does look like a TARDIS. I wrote there in big caps in my notes. TARDIS. And out steps Destro.
That's it.
And the Baroness.
With a toaster.
With a toaster. Chief, you are Cobra Commander, right? And you know that, and Destro has demonstrated in the past, that he has been responsible so chiefly for the construction of all your facilities that he can blow up your most prized porcelain throne from, another time zone. do you not immediately go around, like, rooting out all the security? Like, Cobra Commander should be a super, super cautious guy.
Yes.
And yet here he is. He's been caught literally with his pants pants down, pants off, pants nowhere in sight, okay?
Also, we've seen him running around in his mufti, in his beret and his moustache and his sunglasses, kind of outside. So why wouldn't he just wear that same stuff in the castle? In the castle, he feels the need to wear the hood.
Oh yeah, he even sleeps in the hood. I think it's like, it's like Rorschach. I want my face.
Oh, that was quite a good impression. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll do the radio play of that too.
But he's scared of the Baroness dropping in the toaster into the pool unless he lets these guys. And Destro was very keen to get out of Cobra and any association with Cobra Commander, and yet he's straight back in. Once you've had the big CC, you just always want to go back.
I guess Destro just misses it, because he certainly doesn't need the cash.
No.
And he certainly doesn't need the power. I mean, the guy, he's responsible for these Krytron gambits. Like, he's
Krypton,
playing everybody.
The Krypton, you mean.
But yeah, man, I guess, what would the Cobra World Order be without Destro? I tell you, I'm glad he's on board. The guy's kind of done nothing for too long.
Yes. Let's see what actually shakes out. So, like I said, there's no real... It's very much still foundation work here in this first part. This is a 7-part story, so we've still got 6 more to go, which will break down into 2-3 issue episodes. But we still don't really know what's happening. All we know is the forces are aligning. All the ex-Cobras are getting together. All of the Joes are kind of doing raids on Revanche facilities, but we're waiting for CC to make his big move.
I love the fact that Baroness packs, like, white bread in her pouches. Reaches into a sort of side pouch and pulls out these 2 loaves.
And a Cobra branded toaster that imprints the Cobra onto the bread.
I want that.
Yeah, you know.
I want that a lot more than I would want a Cobra Commander ducky. Shannon is having the time of his life. Bless. I love this guy.
Yes. We cannot fault the art on this issue at all.
No,
I know you mentioned, maybe the big boa head visor thing, but overall he's just knocking it out of the park as always. We won't rate this, but I think we can actually. That prelude, I'm gonna single that out, and we're gonna rate the prelude as a single story because I don't think it ties into this at all.
And incidentally, I think that it was Jim Brown who dropped the ball on Big Boa's visor.
Ah, okay.
Looking at it again,
yes,
Gallant has indicated the view slit quite nicely.
Right.
It's the colors that are dropping the ball. It's been colorized red on the sort of the cheek of the helmet.
Interesting.
Whereas the red should start above that. Ah, that's it. Okay. So
good
I
catch,
called
good
foul
catch.
on Shannon, but actually Shannon did a bang up job once again.
Okay, you
The
can't
man
sneak
is
anything
faultless.
past. Yeah, you can't sneak anything past Stefanos.
But someone's snuck something past Mr. Harmer. I don't know if you read the the letters pages, but someone said,
Oh, is it Sean Collins one?
yes.
Go on.
Scriptic from Quebec says, which sister of Sean Collins has been featured in recent issues, the adoptive or the biological? To which Larry says, I don't believe he has a sister in my continuity. Or, I don't believe he has a sister in my continuity. That's my Larry Harmer. It's pretty poor. Anyways, then who was the young lady eating the twiglets on the couch
Oh, yes,
at
the
the
twiglets.
Collins residence? Who was that?
Yeah. So was that implanted by Shannon as an extra character, or how had Larry plotted out that page or the characters on that scene? We don't know. I'm always willing to believe that Larry's memory is not what it once would be, so anything could be a Larry mistake at this point, I think.
But Chief, you got to go for the no prize, man. You got to tell me why it's not a mistake.
So it's not a mistake because it was just a friend of the family. She'd come over.
Yeah, she was like, hey, you guys got any twiglets?
Yeah.
I love twiglets.
Yeah.
My dad was in a band, And he like always went to the UK with like 2 suitcases and came back with 3 because he just filled it up with Twiglets. So I know you guys have some.
Nice, deep cut.
man.
Love it, love it. Yes, there you go. You've done
No.
it. No prize. It wasn't his sister. It was someone else, friend of the family.
That's your no prize, Chief. Mine was just going to be like, well, he doesn't have a biological sister. Wade Collins isn't his biological dad. This is a kind of a family just thrown together by Cobra circumstance
Yes.
to be a cover family. So that is, I don't know. I suppose you could call it his adoptive sister. So yes, it would be his adoptive sister.
Yeah.
But like, it's just a girl.
Just a girl.
Just a girl.
Prelude. What are you
Picking
giving
up
this
away,
prelude?
Telling her I love you. What am I giving this prelude? 6. It's got potential. Nice to see some old faces, but right now it's not giving me anything new that I'm totally enthusiastic about.
No, I'm just saying that prelude, that Cobra World Order prelude issue, just that one issue on its own.
just
Because
the
I'm
issue.
saying I don't think that was just effectively a recap, wasn't it? I don't think that I wasn't going to include that in the Cobra World Order storyline because it just felt so apart.
Chief, I'm going to do some hypotheticals then if I'm going to rate it. What would I think if I went to a comic book store in 2015?
Yep.
Thereabouts.
Go on.
Whatever. 2014, 2015, in that era, excitedly picking up a prelude to a new event in G.I. Joe. And all I got was a recap of what's already happened and who the main players are. I, as a hardcore Joe fan, would be like, this didn't deliver, man. This didn't give me my money's worth.
October 2015.
Right, so late 2015, as late as that. Yeah, man, it's a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Well, I guess if you'd been away for a long time, then it probably would serve you better to know what's gone on in the few years you've been away.
No,
Maybe.
bro, give me a cold open. Give me Joe's on an action sequence somewhere, and they uncover something like huge. And I'm not talking about fucking revenge. I'm saying like Cobra's onto something big.
Yeah.
Make Cobra out to be the threat that we know and hope and wish they could be again.
Yeah,
Not
because we
some
know
kind of
we
joke.
know Larry can do that. Just think back to that 2-issue arc story where they were out at sea with the reintroduction or the introduction of the Black Major, and that was a cold open. They're out at sea. They're just assaulting a boat, and why, like you said, why couldn't we have something like that to set up this big storyline? That would be great. But
Yeah. If you're going to target new readership, make it a jump-on point that doesn't need to import like heaps and heaps of continuity. Instead of catching us up on what has happened, start us off with something fresh that anyone picking up the book for the first time could be like, okay, cool. These are the Joes. They're on a mission. This is the threat. It's Cobra. Let's go.
yes.
I don't need anything else.
I'm going a bit higher than you. I'm thinking last week I gave 216 to 218 a 5. I would rather read this prelude issue than those 3 issues again. So I have to give it a 5.5.
Way, rolling high.
Nothing in a vacuum. So we have done the comic talk. Don't forget it's 3 issues for next episode. But that means we now have to do toy talk. So it's time for Steve Talks
about
Toys.
toys, ho ho. Steve talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the toys from the comic book and the animated show. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys.
And I'm going to munch on this granola bar.
No, you're not. You're going to guess for me, Chief. You're going to guess for me.
Oh, yeah.
Who could it be? Who did we finally get a golden opportunity to talk about? An opportunity that will most likely not be repeated for the next 100 or so issues.
Big Boa?
Oh, come on, Chief.
Cesspool.
You're killing me, buddy. Good guesses. They were all kind of on the tip of my tongue, but those guys kind of stand on their own 2 feet. No, the toy that and the character
Xandar.
that I'm thinking. Bingo. It's the bingo. Chiefy. Xandar. You'd clean forgot this character even existed.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of his thing, isn't it?
Well, here, I'll peel back, before you start, I'll peel back the curtain even further to show how bad my memory is and how little my knowledge of characters and action figures is. When we were talking about Xandar last week, in my head, I'm picturing Zanzibar.
Incidentally, before I took your call for this recording session, I was painting in Zanzibar's moustache because I've got a really paint-worn version.
Wow.
Man, it is a magnificent sculpted bit of handlebar, that. But we're not talking about Zanzibar.
No,
We're talking about... Who are we talking about again, Chief?
I can't remember. Who is he?
Oh, it's right staring me in the face. It's on my screen. Codename Xandar. Zartan's brother. Okay, that's how nondescript this guy is. Like, his claim to fame is that he's Zartan's brother. It doesn't say, like, Master of Disappearing or
No.
Master of the Shadows. It's literally Zartan's brother. Anyway. Xandar is a master of camouflage and covert movement. That's when you wake up at night and have to go for a poo, but you don't want to flush because you don't want to wake up your missus. So you make sure you get up really early and see to it. No, okay, that's not on the file card.
We've all been there.
In other words, he's good at hiding and sneaking up on people. Needless to say, he doesn't sneak up on people to do them any good. It's comedy. Xandar is an expert with silent weapons and is capable of remaining motionless for long... no movements. Of remaining motionless for long periods of time. Like his brother Zartan, he has the ability to change skin color. New information. Xandar was the kid who never got noticed. Teachers forgot he was there and never called on him. Nobody that has ever met him can remember what his voice sounds like. His anonymity was no accident. He worked at it all through his formative years, and after he grew up, he got even better at it. Well, Chief, there's your answer right there, man. That's why no one can remember this guy. It's by design.
I love that file card, and I'm looking at the picture you sent me of him now, and I really like him. I really like that figure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
in a kind of a Mad Max sense.
yeah. I don't know how the top half of his outfit works. He's got these blue upper sleeves, but it looks like he's bare chested. So are they just? What does he do there? Do you just roll him up his arm or something? How do they work?
Yeah, no, it's
Incredible.
a mystery. But the mystery is true of Zartan as well, because his sleeves or the sort of shoulder armor portions don't really connect to anything in a costume sense.
Right? Yeah.
And ironically, or not so ironically, that is the shared part. He shares that part with Zartan and even Zorana. They've all got the same biceps.
Interesting.
Biceps and shoulders, baby. Getting that pump. But yeah, it doesn't attach to anything. The man is topless, save for a pink neckerchief and a blue holster.
Yeah.
The holster makes a nice bit of sense, and a very nicely sculpted black gripped pistol peeking out of the holster. The pink neckerchief, I can only think, is like some kind of 1980s affectation, because
Yes.
I don't know if gangs would have taken that seriously back in the day, even. But I suppose this is a toy. Let him have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, very much like a cast member from Mad Max. They really kind of ramped up that aesthetic in Xandar. He's got 2 earrings. You know, he's got one on both sides. I don't know what that exactly, what does that imply about his preferences? Who knows?
I'm not sure.
But he's got this kind of wicked war paint on in red. Kind of almost Native American. Very cool. An arched eyebrow. So his face has a lot of expression. He's got orange hair.
Yeah.
Now, in the comic books, he was portrayed as having pink hair. It's an easy mistake to make because he was introduced with Zorana. Obviously, Zorana's rocking the pink hair, and I think they're twins. Are they twins?
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't say. Brother and sister. If they're not twins, who's the elder? Who would you guess?
I say she's the older one.
Right. Okay. So he's the runt.
Yeah.
He comes with a harpoon gun with a scope, which is a pretty effective weapon for a silent kill, I assume. There will be no bullet crack, and it's bloody brutal. Once again, very much in the vein of the Dreadnoks, like found weaponry, or repurposed weaponry. And his backpack, which I think they list as a grenade holding backpack, it really just has a series of bolts for the harpoon gun.
Yep.
So always nice to have some kind of symmetry between accessories, like the one links up with the other, just like Spirit has his kind of arrow cassettes for his, arrow launching
Yep.
rifle. Yeah, nice touch. He unfortunately suffers from having a lot of gold or kind of metallic brassy parts. Like he's got a cool bangle on his left arm, and his knee pads are done up in gold. His belt buckle, and of course the aforesaid earrings. That stuff always disappears.
Right.
It rubs off very easily. Very, very flaky paint job. But, intriguingly enough, he's made from the same kind of color change plastic as his siblings. So he will go a kind of greyish blue if left out in the sun. Just like Zartan and Zorana. And just like Zartan and Zorana, if you try and unscrew his back, he will not separate. You got to get in there with a blade and actually cut his two halves open.
Ah, okay.
Apparently there are ways of like inserting maybe like a needle nose pliers and popping the two halves apart. But having done surgery on my Zorana, I'd say if you get a sharp enough blade in there, you can kind of cut through the adhesive or whatever it is that's uniting the two halves. And that is I was about to say Zartan, and then I was about to say Zorana, but no, it is Xandar, 1986's most unmemorable character. And that's just the way he likes it.
And when did you acquire one of these?
I got him by virtue of a donation. Thanks to good old Cody Scalf.
Very nice.
Who makes play motion videos in the style of G.I. Joeberg. He's really picked up the ball and run with it. And when he found out that I was marooned in Australia with no toys, he sent me a motherload of action figures. Really, really, really generous gift. And
cool.
yeah, I got a Xandar with his harpoon gun. And while this is a figure that I would never have gone out of my way to get personally, I can't say that I'm not grateful to have him. Because he is really something unique. And
Very cool.
Not a bad looking figure when all is said and done. The face sculpt, as I say, has a lot of character. I just look at it and I'm like, it's kind of cool. In fact, if I was to cosplay, maybe I'd try Xandar.
Oh, we need to see that, people. Come on, let's
I have to wax my chest, bro. This guy's looking like a wax model.
I'm trying to think if I definitely didn't have him. I'm trying to think, did Ben have him? Don't know, don't recall. He had it either. Yeah, I think he might have had him, actually. I think he did have him. I think he did. But, yeah.
He has these kind of lightning bolt tattoos or war paint on his torso. In the card art, they're really big and bold and like lightning strikes.
Yeah.
But on the toy, it just looks like the Nazi SS.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Nazi alert, yeah. Very unfortunate.
No, good. Right, there you go. I mean, I wasn't ever anticipating us covering him, so I'm kind of glad he popped up in that one panel.
I'm nothing if not organic, Chief. It's like, if I see an opportunity to work in the obscure guys, I'm going to do that.
Good.
But you've noticed a trend, perhaps. I don't really step very far out of the bounds of the classic series, 82 to 94.
Yep.
I suppose the reason for that is the same reason Shannon always goes back to the classics. It's like, you can have 70 versions of Snake Eyes, but you can only have one original,
Yep.
The first time he rocked the goggles, and the first time he rocked the visor. So in that same vein, I'm really just looking at the debuts.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, brother. Nothing wrong with that, bro. If you want to keep knocking out them, that's all good with me. There will be
Give
more.
my China! Now let's talk some colloquialisms, bro!
Yeah, man, let's do it. I've got to introduce it, haven't I? It's time for Commonwealth colloquialisms, aka over egg in the pudding.
What would we do if Chief didn't say it verbatim every single episode, dear listener? I think the world would implode in on itself.
Let's hope not. I better keep saying it then. We gotta put in. We gotta put in. We're gonna over egg that pudding. Ain't got no criticisms. We got some Commonwealth colloquialisms. What you got?
Salvos.
Salvos. Like the figure.
Yeah, salvos.
Oh, you're going down the shop, give me a 6-pack of salvos. No.
Oh, you're going down to salvos.
You going down to salvos tonight? Nah, I'm going down to Xandar's. Salvos. Oh, I got a nasty case of salvos in my crotch. No. Salvos.
Mate, it's the
I think-
Salvation Army.
Ah, okay, nice.
So they're like, if you were to go to their kind of charity shops, that's salvos.
I like it.
So do I.
Chief's one is, if I was being jammy, what was I being?
Jammy, it sounds like you're being stubborn.
Jammy is actually
Or ill-tempered.
lucky or fortunate.
What?
Yep. Yep. You people would
Never
often
would've
say,
guessed.
"You jammy bastard," if you you'd had a bet on someone, a team to win, and they scored a goal in like the 90th minute. Ah, you jammy bastard. So yeah, lucky.
News to me, Chief. Nice. What is a rock spider? If you were to
rock-
call someone a rock spider in South Africa, what would you be calling them?
Rock spider. I'm gonna say it's not a good thing.
No, I suppose. Well, yeah, it's a bit derogatory.
You rock spider. You're clinging on to something. So someone who kind of third wheel at a party.
Well, here's the kind of the reverse of the derogatory term. Like if someone was to call, if a South African was to call me a redneck.
Right.
Okay. Well, or they could call me. Oh, this is getting deep into the
nitty-gritty.
lingo. But a soutpeel.
Soutpeel. I like that.
Soutpeel.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me put you out of your misery, Chief.
Please.
So a rock spider would be a derogatory term for a South African of Dutch or Afrikaner descent.
Okay.
Yes. And a redneck or rooineck would be someone of British descent. I think it goes back to the Boer War or the South African War, the Anglo-Boer War.
So redneck aligned with red coats.
Kind of, but more in the case of like, you limey bastards never see the sun, so of course you're going to have rednecks.
Right. Okay.
You know, all these troops getting off the boat from wherever they were dispatched from in Great Britain,
Yeah.
suddenly arriving in the hot African sun, and they all had sunburn on their necks by the next day.
Yeah.
And soutpeel means like sout is salt, and
Yes.
peel is your dick.
Okay.
It basically means that you've got a foot in England and a foot in Africa, so
Yes.
your dick is in the ocean.
Okay. Salt
Funny,
dick.
funny,
Very
funny.
More colloquialisms later. Not even later being next week. But right now we need to close the show out with. We asked you a question, the wonderful people on all the places out there, and you gave us some answers which we're going to now talk about because we asked you a question.
Codenames, Chief.
Yeah.
You really surprised me with this one. I was pleasantly surprised and very interested to know where you were going with it.
Well, I was just interested to know if assigning characters codenames was just kind of random, or how close did the codename need to be to the specialty of the character, and was there anything in file cards that either was contravened or kind of gone against type in the cartoons or comics, or discrepancy, so to speak. Just interested.
On that last point, good old Phil Rottenberger, he's got a great response about Scrap Iron not really living up to his Destro affiliation from the file card.
Yeah.
That he worked as a product designer for Destro, and it made sense that he would be in the employ of Mars because he's an anti-armor specialist. He would be working to develop the best anti-tank weapons money can't buy. Or can buy, I don't know, depending on whether you can meet Destro's high price. But it was never really played out or teased out in the comic book series or the animation, to be honest.
Yeah.
Though I will say that Scrap Iron did side with Destro in Arise, Serpentor Arise, so that might have been a taste of it.
Okay.
But yeah, if Hasbro was really savvy about who they had on their roster, Scrap Iron would see re-release as an Iron Grenadier.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been the coolest turn of all, and a great opportunity to reintroduce an obscure character from the past, but one that certainly has a following. Instead, they gave us Metalhead, a new character, but more or less the same function as Scrap Iron.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. I'll tell you what I did like from Mike. He was talking about Jinx, because Jinx is, don't jinx it, it'll give us bad luck. Jinx is kind of associated with bad luck, so it seems strange that a character would be attributed that code name to say, "Oh, stay away from her, she's bad luck." But Mike goes on to mention, all the people that she's kind of helped. She helped Billy. She was incredibly
what
loyal
happened
to
to
her
Billy?
family.
Billy's dead
Oh,
now.
Billy is dead. Yeah. She was kind of helping Pale Peony, I guess, but Pale Peony's dead. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Pale Peony's dead. She helped Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is dead.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're
I'm
right.
seeing a
Maybe it is
pattern
apt.
here.
Yeah, we take it back, Mike. It is an apt code name.
Well, I fear Mike is not a fan of the movie then, because they really play that note pretty hard.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The next guy who tells me I'm bad luck is gonna get a knuckle massage.
Ah, okay. There you go.
They're trying to start the damn Tomahawk helicopter.
Right.
And it's like, it's been pulled for repairs. We've got a buggy ignition or starter motor. Because Chuckles winds up like jump starting it by pushing the rotors manually. Oh, man.
Okay.
Chief, we got to do it, brother.
We are doing it. We are doing it.
We are doing it.
But of course, what when these file cards were written, it may have well been written that the character was this kind of bad luck charm, so to speak, but it just never played out in the comics. It just never went that way. So it'd be interesting to know when, at the time of writing the file cards, how much had the characters been in other media.
Oh, it definitely happened before. Like, I think the file cards were penned, and the packaging was designed, and the toys were en route before any other media appearances.
Yeah, so I wonder if there was a line of character development or character traits that was originally planned, and then when Larry got his hands on them for the comic, so to speak, he decided, I'm not going to go down that line. I'll do this instead with the character. So maybe that's where discrepancies come out. But
I think it's kind of foolish. The media that reaches the most number of people, I think, is actually the file cards. Some would say the cartoon, but the toys were everywhere.
right,
In the heyday, G.I. Joe was huge. Huge. We all had them. And the file cards were our primary source, our primary evidence
Yep.
on who these toys were. Like, we hung on every word. Oh, I certainly did. I have met people that didn't, and I find that strange. It's like, but you got this awesome information with your toy,
yeah,
and you didn't hang on every detail? Oh, man.
yeah, it was all there in front
This
of
stuff breathed life into this. It imbued the plastic in your hand with the character, that it was like not just a piece of plastic held together by a rubber band and some screws, but it was a grizzled warrior with a history and 3 dimensions.
you. Yeah, I agree. Maybe some kids just didn't like reading.
I guess. Oh, man. I come off pretentious once again.
There's a couple more, then I'm going to do a couple that I've not actually heard of before. So Magnus talks about the Saw Viper, and his card lists him as a semi-automatic weapon specialist, but clearly that thing that he holds is pretty much, a full death machine, I think.
I think somebody writing that file card flubbed the abbreviation SAW.
Right.
It should be Squad Automatic Weapon. It's a role in a fire team. The guy with the pig, with the hog,
Yep.
with the M60, or, the guy who lays down the suppressive fire while the rest of the guys get into position
Yes.
and take the shot.
Yep.
The guy who draws fire. He's your Squad Automatic Weapons guy. That's my understanding of it.
Yep.
But unfortunately, whoever was writing the file card wasn't up on their gun porn or gun foo or whatever we want to call it, and they call him a semi-automatic weapons guy.
Okay.
Terrible, stupid.
Peter says that Sergeant Slaughter never killed anyone, or no, Pete never saw Sergeant Slaughter kill anyone. So interesting to know why he was called Sergeant Slaughter, but that is obviously because of the wrestler name who came before him. But maybe he wants to go back to the introduction of that character in wrestling and say, why did you get the name Sergeant Slaughter as a wrestler?
Right on. Pete, to that, I'm just going to reiterate something I said on Facebook. You really should check out the cartoon series. If you're not au fait with it, it's an acquired taste, and once you go down that path and kind of get into the flow of things, it could be kind of fun. A nice way to kind of re-envision G.I. Joe. And if you do get as far as watching Arise, Serpentor Arise Part 1, you'll see Sergeant slaughter a whole bunch of battle android troopers. Like, the Joes are literally on the ropes. They're about to get wiped out completely and overwhelmed by bats. Slaughter jumps out of his triple T and just mashes them with nothing but his fists and the included baton accessory that it came with.
Nice.
So if the analogy of kill extends as far as androids, yeah, he did some slaughterizing that day.
Very cool, very cool. There are a couple of characters that I have never heard of. So Bart mentions Ice Cream Soldier. I don't know what that is.
Because Bart sent me a meal ready to eat, an MRE, sort of a field ration,
Right.
which he then jokingly added a ice cream soldier into the mix. Chief, this was actually a flame trooper released
Okay.
in the late year of 1994.
Right.
He's clad in bright neon orange with
Googling.
yellow accents, and he's something else, man. But he's called Ice Cream Soldier literally just to be a non sequitur. You know, it says as much in the file card, like, Cobras find out that Ice Cream Soldier is coming to the battlefield. They laugh. They're like, we're not going to take this guy seriously. And then he lights up his flamethrower. It's that kind of gag.
Right. Wow, look at him.
Stupid. But people who deride Ice Cream Soldier, I'll say to them, hey man, he rocked bright orange to the battlefield. Barbecue rocked bright red. Like,
Annihilator?
there's Annihilator, yeah, the orange. Of course.
Yeah.
Never liked that guy. Gross.
Okay, and another one I've never heard of, Colonel Courage. Mark mentioned him, Mark Seddon.
Perhaps we should actually read out what Mark had to say, because I don't think I can put it better.
Okay, Colonel Courage sounds like a Captain America-style superhero, but is actually the G.I. Joe admin guy whose primary military specialty is looking neat in his tie. WTF.
And maybe to support that point, I shall read the file card. Oh, stand right back.
Oh yeah, bonus toy talk.
I'll never surrender when wearing a tie.
Because I can't be beat when I'm neat.
Kind of fits the rhyme scheme of beating your meat, but oh man, gross. Yeah, dude. That's all we need to actually read, in fact.
This guy looks quite cool. Apart from the neon green gun, I quite like that design.
He's neon green all over, isn't he? He's got a sculpted tie.
Yeah.
Craziness. Chief, I'm going to enter one into the mix.
Yes, please.
Just the first one that came to mind.
I've got one as well.
Ooh, I wonder if it's the same one.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Flash! I mean,
Flash, yeah.
you're going to name a G.I. Joe Flash. Everyone's going to think either Flash Gordon or The Flash.
Correct. Yes.
They're not going to think a Laser Trooper.
No.
Has G.I. Joe successfully taken ownership of that name? Well, enough people like Flash. But still, like, was that the best they could have done? You had strong competition, is what I'm trying to say.
My one is of characters that I don't think suit their code name, and my one is Lady J. Where does the J come from?
Right.
I don't understand.
You've stumped the panel. Where does the J come from? She had an alternate code name of Lady Shae.
Right.
Shae. Is that Gaelic at all?
S-H-A. Maybe.
Maybe.
Don't know.
But Lady J, you know what? I'm going to see
Makes
what
no
the first hit
sense.
on Google is. If it's
Makes
not
no
a G.I.
sense.
Joe, then maybe we'll be onto something.
Because it doesn't really tie in with what her specialties are, or even Flint. Flint is another one. What does that mean in terms of his character?
Well, I think that is an example of an effective code name. Because it didn't really have any real significance until it became the code name of a G.I. Joe. So it's the opposite of my example with Flash, which already had notoriety long before
Yep.
a G.I. Joe took it. Lady J and Flint, the first thing that you're going to get when you type Lady J into Google are some interesting nudes, actually. No, well, God bless DeviantArt. It's Lady J. Fictional character from the G.I. Joe universe. Bam.
There you go.
So there is wisdom in creating something perhaps a little bit arbitrary. It's because you're going to get that domain all to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 years later when the internet is a thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Good examples, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
I actually contributed to this segment for once. Woo! Bow, bow, bow. There'll be more questions next week. Actually, no, next week we have got, there will be questions. We've got a special guest coming into the studio, so you can ask your questions to our guest. But that will be exciting, definitely for me and hopefully for S-Jubs as well.
Always.
And that's it. Yeah, you can catch us in all the usual places. That's talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who gave us suggestions for this week's question. Apologies, it was such short notice, like 24 hours. But this is the only day we were able to record ahead of next week's show. But it will mean nothing to you when you're listening to this because you'll be listening to it at the normal time, thanks to the miracle of time and how it works. But you can find my daily art posts I'm putting up on Chiefy Two Shoes on Instagram and Twitter, and then find all the good stuff over on G.I. Joeberg for all the fantastic videos and everything that goes onto that channel, where you can also find
Chief's Toy Box Part 4.
That'll be the end of Season 1, and then we've got Season 2 planned, where we're going into guest homes, and we've already got guest number 1 and possibly guest number 2 lined up, so stay tuned for more of those toy boxes.
Chief will be knocking on your door, dear listener. Watch out.
With his mask on.
Get some toys ready.
But with all that said and done, we'll catch you down the road.
We've been talking Joe.
And we're all out of Joe.
Yo, Joe!
Especially Xandar.